Sorry to bust your bubble. No, this isn't a screening of Star Wars The Force Awakens. And if you haven't watched that movie, drop what you're doing right now and watch it. Go on, I'm waiting. I'll be here when you're back. So now you've thoroughly enjoyed yourself, we can now discuss Luke Skywalker, particularly his development throughout the original trilogy. So to be honest, the viewing of The Force Awakens was not exactly required, but you're a Star Wars fan, so I hope you'll forgive me. As you know, Luke Skywalker doesn't get much screen time in the 7th installment, and that got me thinking, what developments has Luke gone throughout the films? We all know the basics, but I propose a closer analysis of the changing aspects of Luke's character, and the characteristics that make Luke the most unique Jedi to date. So buckle up, and be sure to bring some power converters. We are first introduced to a simple farm boy with aspirations for greater things. He is talented, being a good pilot, and he can handle himself. He's adventurous and compassionate, yet he can be reckless and impatient.
You can alter time, speed up the harvest, or teleport me off this rock.
In the first film, Luke is inexperienced. He doesn't believe he can do anything to help the rebellion.
I can't get involved. I've got work to do. It's not that I like the Empire, I hate it, but there's nothing I can do about it right now. It's such a long way from here.
That's your uncle talking.
Boy, my uncle. How am I ever going to explain this?
Learn about the Force, Luke.
Look, I can take you as far as Anchorhead. You can get a transport there to Mos Eisley or wherever you're going.
You must do what you feel is right, of course.
This is backed by color archetypes. If you recall, Luke is wearing a white tunic throughout the film. The white color in this context likely evidences his inexperience and the blank slate, contrasted by Obi Wan's brown robe and aged yellow tunic, emphasizing his age and wisdom.
Let go your conscious self and act on instinct.
The only other to don such a white is Princess Leia, and I think we all know their connection.
Governor Tarkin, I should have expected to find you holding Vader's leash. I recognized your foul stench when I was brought on board.
It isn't until after the briefing by Rebel Captain What's-His-Face that he dons the Rebel fighter pilot garb, which asserts Luke's dedication to the Rebel cause. He embraces the Force and lands a direct hit on the Death Star's reactor core.
You're all clear, kid. Now let's blow this thing and go home.
And we all know what that means.
Remember, the Force will be with you, always.
To conclude, the first film is about an inexperienced boy getting a shot at something greater and nailing it. Cue the John Williams music, on we go. The next film proposes a more confident Skywalker. He can take care of himself, yet he has much to learn. He defends himself against a Wampa, yet recklessly wanders into a snowstorm. This relatively minor detail epitomizes the whole movie. Luke is skilled, yet naive, and tends to bite off more than he can chew in this film. Taking Ben's advice, Luke travels to Dagobah.
You will go to the Dagobah system.
Dagobah system.
There you will learn from Yoda, the Jedi Master who instructed me.
We're going to the Dagobah system.
Luke is well-intentioned, yet impatient, and fails Yoda's first test of patience.
Listen, friend, we didn't mean to land in that puddle, and if we could get our ship out, we would, but we can't, so why don't you just...
Not get your ship out.
I don't even know what I'm doing here. We're wasting our time.
I cannot teach him. The boy has no patience. This one, a long time have I watched. All his life as he looked away to the future, to the horizon, never his mind on where he was. What he was doing. Adventure. Excitement. A Jedi craves not these things. You are reckless.
His second failure is at the cave. Luke ignores Yoda's advice and uses his powers recklessly for attack.
Your weapons. You will not need them.
Notice how Luke is the first to activate his saber. After weeks of training, he strengthens his force ability, and for a moment, lifts his X-Wing out of the lake. Yet he doubts in the Force, and fails. He can't believe Yoda's impressive command over the Force.
I can't. It's too big.
He has a rational view of his powers, and has difficulty believing in his potential.
I don't believe it.
That is why you fail.
He feels the Force, but he can't control it.
I feel the Force.
But you cannot control it. This is a dangerous time for you.
This leads him to an attempted rescue on Han and Leia before he completes his training.
I will. And I'll return. I promise.
He makes a mistake and faces Vader far before he's ready, and is easily conquered by Vader. Vader toys with him throughout most of the fight, using one-handed strikes and confounding him with the Force. Luke is nowhere near powerful enough to face Vader, and faces the shocking revelation that, spoiler alert,
I am your father.
The next year between The Empire Strikes Back and Return of the Jedi holds Luke's biggest development. Luke now speaks in a calm, calculated, matter-of-fact manner.
I must speak with Jabba.
His whiny outbursts are now absent. His initial appearance brings the archetype of color full circle. He now wears black robes and tunic, the color black indicating his newfound power and sophistication. Luke has no doubts on his ability to storm Jabba's palace. He casually dispatches 2 Gamorrean guards and dominates Fortuna's mind.
You will bring Captain Solo and the Wookiee to me.
He has a command over the Force. He defeats a Rancor with no weapons and casually taunts Jabba. He has a plan and acts on it with no hiccups, in stark contrast to Luke's last botched rescue mission.
Stick close to Chewie and Lando. I'm taking care of everything.
Luke keeps his promise and returns to Yoda.
I have a promise to keep. To an old friend.
It is now Luke exposes some vulnerabilities.
Master Yoda, you can't die.
Strong am I with the Force, but not that strong.
Luke hasn't fully embraced the Force as his ally, and doesn't know how he can face Vader and the Emperor alone.
But I need your help. I've come back to complete the training.
No more training do you require. Already know you that which you need.
He senses the good still in Vader, and wants Vader to turn back to the light.
There is still good in him.
He's more machine now than man, twisted and evil.
I can't do it, Ben.
You cannot escape your destiny. You must face Darth Vader again.
I can't kill my own father.
He demonstrates his control unpresent before by realizing what he would do by striking down Vader, and refuses to kill the Emperor with hate.
Never. I'll never turn to the dark side. You failed, Your Highness. I am a Jedi, like my father before me.
He is now a Jedi Knight and succeeds in his objective when Anakin stops the Emperor from harming his son, and ultimately brings balance to the Force. Luke's development, not only as a Force user, but as a person, is astounding. Luke's sheer ability to adapt in a short period of time is his main virtue. His diplomacy and perception of people lead to an odd victory over the Sith, and ultimately the Empire.
It is the name of your true self you've only forgotten. I know there is good in you. The Emperor hasn't driven it from you fully.
Luke found a unique, possibly the sole solution to bringing balance to the Force, by going against the grain.
Already know you. That what you need.
Before I wrap up the video, I wanted to briefly discuss what I believe Luke is like now in the time of the new movies. So minor Force Awakens spoilers ahead. As you know, we learn very little of Luke in the 7th installment, but we can make inferences. It is safe to assume he's become more of a Yoda figure, the way he's presented in a stoic nature. He waits for Rey, as if testing her. As Yoda did Luke, he dons robes similar to the style of Yoda's, and like Yoda, fled to isolation after unsettling events. It is unclear to what extent his mastery of the Force extends, but it is clear he has a much stronger affinity for the Force than in return. As for if he will be as effective a philosopher as Yoda, or perhaps he is doubting of his abilities as a teacher after Kylo Ren's fall, these are questions left to be answered in the coming films. If you made it this far, I wanted to thank you. I quite enjoy putting these things together and would like to continue. If you have a suggestion, be sure to leave it in the comments. And as always, may the Force be with you.